Yo, what's up, everybody? How you doing? So throughout my week, I spend quite a bit of time doing impromptu coachings with people. As you guys know, as a side hustle, I drive with Lyft, and I see about 140 people every week. When I see these people, oftentimes because they feel so comfortable and safe with me, and I'm not non-judgmental, they begin to tell me their story. They begin to tell me their woes. This is before they find out that I coach people in relationships and finance and money and business and everything else. This is just a natural thing that kind of happens to me. And one of the things that I realized this week is that most people are trying to use these 5 love languages and they don't know what they're doing. You may be trying to use the 5 love languages, but you're messing them up. And in today's video, we're going to break down how you can have a better understanding of the 5 love language, your love language, how to use them, the dialect that you speak, the language that you speak, the whole deal. So sit back, buckle up, and let's take a trip down the 5 love languages and how it works for you and how it won't work for you. So what's up, everybody? How you doing? This is your Coach Renz. I want to thank everybody for being here, for supporting the channel, for being patrons, for subscribing. If you find me for the first time, we talk about love, relationship, money, sex, spirituality, everything under the sun. Take from me what works for you. If you don't like it, kick it off to the side. I don't want anybody to agree with me 100% because that would be boring. So just take what you can. But hit that bell icon and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. So a long time ago, there was a book called The 5 Love Languages that came out. It was a very, very popular book. Many people took hold of it. But over the years, many people don't understand it and are not using it properly. I had a situation where a young lady she just started telling me her story. We was in the car for like 45 minutes. It was a long trip. And she starts telling me how she appreciates her husband because he puts up with her. She starts arguments. She creates all this havoc in their relationship. But she appreciates the fact that he overlooks her issues and that he's actually a really good guy. But he does not protect her from his parents. His parents has treated her really, really bad. They have not been nice to her. They have treated her to levels that if ever told to a police officer, charges could be brought up, right? But he never protected because he never saw it. They kept it on the wraps. It was an abusive situation. And because of that, anytime they're around, she withdraws. And then the other thing is, she consistently starts arguments with her husband, and it's rooted in the fact that he was never her protector against his parents. Now, there's a lot more, but I'm not going to tell you all her business. But there was a lot more that we talked about. But one of the big things about it was they never took the time to understand each other's love language and how they should function within that realm. There was another young lady. She quickly jumped into a relationship with a young man, and they both work 2 jobs, and he is complaining that they don't spend enough time together, that they don't that they're not physical enough with one another. And for her, it's, I got to get this work done. I want to work. I got things I want to accomplish. I don't have time to do all these other things. I just want him to be there and support me in my goals. Their primary love languages are different, as well as even when they try to speak each other's love language, they got the wrong dialect. They got the wrong dialect. So what do I mean by that? What do I mean by speaking each other's love language? Speaking each other's love language is like speaking languages, period. My primary language is English, right? If I were to say, and I'm going to just use this because I lived there. If I were to say, go to Europe, of course, if I went to England to find a mate, their primary language is English. Slightly different dialect, different words here and there, but we're going to communicate very well. There won't be any problems. The only difference we have to understand is things like, if she says chips, she doesn't mean potato chips. She means French fries. If I say, I want a biscuit, she has to understand that I mean a biscuit that you have, like an egg and cheese biscuit, not a cookie, right? So it's little things like that in the dialects that we would have to overcome. But for the most part, we're going to communicate perfectly well. Very few misunderstandings. Now, if I went to France, and I was speaking to a young lady. I took French. I think French is a beautiful language. So we'll be able to communicate, but there's a lot of, there may be a lot of misunderstanding, and it's going to take some time in order for me to communicate well with her. Like, I will know to say bonjour, you know, comment allez-vous, au revoir, salut, whatever, I don't know. Je te donne ma petite amie. Les yeux est très joli. I'll be able to say some things. And as we spend time together, I'll be able to grow in speaking her language. It won't be my primary, but it's a secondary that I like. And that's very important. A secondary language that I like. Now, let's say I went to Germany, to which I did live in Germany for 3 years. Totally different situation. In Germany, I found the language to be very rough. I found the language to not have as much of a poetic flow to it. So it wasn't a language, although I learned some of it, I didn't want to keep it. I didn't maintain it. It actually was something I really didn't want to be involved in. So although I could speak the language, I could tell her, you know, schnell. You know, it's a rough language to me. Just to tell somebody to hurry up, you know, schnell. I don't like that. If I'm telling my child, you know, I may tell in English, I'm like, come on, Sydney, hurry up. If I'm talking to my daughter, Sydney, hurry up. You know, it sounds fine, Sydney, hurry up. But if I'm speaking it in German, then it's like, you know, schnell, Sydney, Sydney, schnell. You know, to me, it's too rough, you know. And I don't even know how to say that nicely, like Sydney, schnell, Sydney, schnell. You know, it doesn't even sound right to me, you know, to say it that way. You know, to wake up in the morning, and the difference between saying, you know, bonjour and, you know, guten Morgen, you know, or, you know, bonne nuit, or saying, you know, guten Tag, you know, it's rough. So it's not a language that I would enjoy speaking. And then, even beyond the speaking of the language, there are different dialects. Different dialects. I'm setting this up for a purpose. There are different dialects. For instance, you can speak Portuguese. But then if you go to Brazil, they speak Brazilian Portuguese. So although you'll be able to communicate, there are slight differences. And this is one of the things from the love languages that people don't really realize. That within each love language, there are different dialects. Just because you have this love language as your primary, you may speak it a different dialect than the other person who either has the same love language as yours, or it is a really strong secondary love language that they do like, but the dialect is different. I like Portuguese. So if I wanted to say, you know, obrigado, I like the way it sounds, and I like the way it flows. So I can, you know, I don't mind it. But am I speaking to a person in Portuguese, or am I speaking to a person in Brazil? You know, it's going to be different dialects, and you have to understand the different dialects and be able to work with them. So love languages are the same. Love languages are the same. So when I was dealing with all these different people throughout the week, one of the things that consistently we talked about is knowing your love language, knowing their love language. What is their primary love language? What is their secondary love language? What is the dialect that they speak in each love language? Understanding all that will help you to utilize the 5 love languages. So let's go through them so that you can understand them better. The first one is words of affirmation. Words of affirmation is encouragement of a person's character or encouragement of a person's activity. If a person, some people who like words of affirmation could care less about you encouraging their character, but more about their activities, or vice versa, or the whole thing. So it's understanding the dialect that they're speaking. And if you're not that person, there are some people who could care less. There are some people who it aggravates them, that they think it's pandering when someone is always giving them words of affirmation. That type of person cannot be with a person who needs words of affirmation. That words of affirmation means love to them. And before I go into this, let me say this. Whatever a person's love language is, never tell them to get over it. Never tell them that they need to mature out of it. Never tell them that they need to come to some different level of consciousness that is outside of their love language. The thing about love languages, you're either conditioned over 20, 15, 20, 30 years based on how your parents treated you, how they showed you love, based on how your family showed love. You're either conditioned into it that way, or you're hardwired. Either way, it is not your responsibility to change a person's love language. It's your responsibility to just accept it. Now, if a person decides that they want to change their hardwiring, they want to change their conditioning, and they're doing it for themselves, that's great. That's fine. There's no problem with that. I can rock with that. You can rock with that. So that's fine. But it needs to be for that person, for themselves, for their own internal self. So don't disparage someone else's love language ever. So if it's words of affirmation, but you're hard-nosed, you're like, because one of the persons that I talked to, they got so much testosterone flowing through their system that I was like, dude, seriously, the world does not revolve around you. Everybody in the world is not supposed to be like you. If your lady needs you to encourage her, to tell her how wonderful she is, tell her how beautiful she is, then guess what? Either do it or let her go be with somebody who will. But don't try to manipulate her with money. Don't try to manipulate her with a child. Don't try to manipulate her with material things and then expect that she's supposed to be happy. Doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And I warned him that she can probably only take so much, because I myself would rather be homeless and happy than wealthy and miserable. Okay? So, words of affirmation is just encouragement. It's listening to a person actively, being very involved in their lives. And you can do this by sending messages, by your good morning. I like to send music videos that express words of affirmation. But if the person is not into music, that's not going to be a good thing. Only if a person is into music will I do it. If they're into poetry, I'll do it. If they're into whatever they're into, that's what you do. However they like to communicate, then that's how you communicate. My first way of communicating is verbally, right? But in today's world, many people, their first way of communicating now is through text. People actually get pissed if you call them. So, but I don't mind texting. It's just a different dialect. And so I just use whatever method works. But you have to avoid being overly critical. The next one is physical touch. Physical touch, this is where a lot of people get lost. They think they just go straight to sex. Physical touch is way more than just sex. It is sex, but it is nonverbal. It is completely body language. But it is also holding hands. It is cuddling. It is, sitting up under each other. When I drive Lyft, oftentimes if I pick up a couple, especially, and I can tell that their love language is physical touch, at least one of them, because they'll get in the car and they're right up under each other. You got a whole back seat, but they're right next to each other, pretty much in the same seat. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're doing too much. But that's what works for them. You understand? That's what works for them. That's their love language. That's their dialect. Sitting in the car up under each other is important. Going to have a meal and sitting there with each other talking, that's their love language. Part of that is quality time, but we're going to get there. But that's how they function. And as long as they both can speak that love language and that dialect, it's great. Sometimes it might be tremendous amounts of sex. Other time it might just be a bunch of a tremendous amount of kissing and holding hands and going out on dates and sitting in parks and laying on each other's laps. It may be. Whatever the combination is, that's just what it is. So you have to take that into consideration. Can you do it? Is that your primary or is that a secondary? If it's neither one of those, you're going to have a hard time. And then what's the dialect that they speak? What are the ways? How do you love me? Let me count the ways. 1, 2, So if you're going long stints without physical contact, then the person's love tank is going to be empty, right? And if a person is running on fumes, then eventually they're going to pull up to a different gas station because they need fuel. Your love tank got to get fueled up, and they will pull up to a different gas station. Whether or not they still with you or not with you, eventually another gas station is going to come into the picture. They may be honorable enough to leave you first, but if not, they're going to eventually pull up to another gas station because you can only run on fumes for so long. The next one is receiving gifts. This one I always find interesting because a lot of men would just think I can just buy her this and buy her that. I got her a house. I got her a car. I got her, all these clothes. She got her, a black car. I got her this. I bought her. Not realizing that a person who is receiving gifts, their love language, if receiving gifts is their love language, it's about the intent. It's about the emotions behind it. It's about the time, the care, the consideration that you put behind it. It's not about the material thing. I bought you this watch that costs $4,000. It's not the money. It's the thought about it. Why was a watch something that she spoke of? Was it something that meant something to her? Did she mention it passing by like, oh, that's a nice blouse? And then you remembered and you went back and got it, right? And you surprised her, especially on special events. Like my brother, his love language is receiving gifts, but it's completely about the mindset behind it. It has nothing to do with the amount of the gift. All about the intent behind it. All right. So you can't forget special occasions. You can't forget things that they say in order to make sure that they are receiving gifts that way. Quality time is the other one. Quality time and affection kind of like merge with each other a lot. But here's a special thing about quality time, which is so difficult in today's world. Uninterrupted quality time. If you're watching a movie together, but the other person is it's not quality time. I've told you guys before, I was in a relationship with people that we would have conversation and they on that damn Facebook. They scrolling Instagram, Facebook. And then would claim like, we spent all day together. No, you spent all day with your phone. One young lady, I was timing her. Every 3.5 minutes, she had to pick up that dang on phone. 3.5 minutes. 3.5 minutes. Actually, I've done this several times with different people. But they pick up that dang on phone. Even if it's work, quality time is quality time. Quality time is quality. Now, admittedly, I keep my phone near me, especially when my store was open in South DeKalb Mall. I kept my phone near me. Employees might call. All right. And I have a habit of keeping my phone near me, but I keep the face down. I don't want to be distracted by notifications because there's a thing with me that I have to clear my notifications. So I don't want to be distracted by notifications. So I put it down, face down. I have nothing to hide, but I love my quality time. I love my quality time. Got to have it. So when it's interrupted, it destroys the quality time. It is not the same. It's that one-on-one is so critical when it comes to quality time. And you have to create these moments. Create the opportunities. If you don't create the opportunity, you don't create the moments, it doesn't work. You know, it doesn't work. You have to take the weekend getaways. You have to, one of the biggest problems I had in one of my marriages is that when we were dating, we can go out on a Tuesday, go out on a Wednesday. And that was great. I love that. But all of a sudden you get married and now it's, oh, we can only go out on a Saturday because, you know, you work all week and Friday you're recovering from the work and then Saturday you can go out. But then Sunday you got to get ready for the week and you just want to rest and relax to get ready for the week. That sucks to me because I'm in Atlanta. There's a lot of events that go on throughout the week. And not only just events, just, you know, just to be together. Like if you only go out one day a week, that's 52 days that you go out of 365. If you only make love once or twice a week, that's 52 or 4 days out of the week out of 365. That math don't add up. That math does not add up. If you show a person love that few times, their tank is empty. Their tank is empty. If you're not speaking that dialect, tank is still empty. If you're having a hard time speaking that language, tank is still empty. The last one is acts of service. Acts of service is just doing things for the person. It's doing things that makes them feel comfortable. It is going fill up the gas tank without them asking. It's cutting the grass without them asking. It is, I'm old fashioned. I grew up with my grandparents. It's bringing me a plate of food. Makes, you know, it's stupid stuff. Like I like the acts of service that are stupid. That's fun. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It is, I'm the idiot that will be driving. You could be in a building at work and I'm driving by and I will literally say, hey, I'm waving at you. And I literally will wave. right? Now, if for some reason I know that you're waving back, I don't know. Don't ask me. I know it's stupid, but it means something to me. It means something to me. You know, I'm the type of person that, since acts of service, well, mine go physical touch, quality time, and then acts of service. All right, those are my top three primary. Acts of service is towards the bottom, but those are my top one: physical touch, quality time, acts of service. Words of affirmation, they're okay. Gifts, I could care less. But, and even acts of service is way down. There's a big gap between acts of service and quality time. So I say that because I'm the type of person, and I've done it so many times. For me, if you're on the other side of town, I will drive across town just to get a hug. Just to hug you. And when somebody does that for me, to say that they are, like, if I'm somewhere and they're nearby and they go out of their way to come by and show me some physical touch affection or to spend 5 minutes with me, that means so much to me, right? That means way more than any gift you could ever give me, right? You can give me a new motorcycle, that Indian Chieftain. You can give me that Indian Chieftain, and that's great. But you went out of your way to come across town to give me a hug, to give me a kiss, to have lunch with me, to make love to me, to do anything like that. You went out of your way across town to do that. That right there, oh, the pitter-patter of my heart just started moving around. And we have to understand, when you're with someone, the truth is in the eye of the beholder. It doesn't matter how you feel about it if you're going to stay in a relationship. And this is one of the things I told everybody that I encountered. If you're going to stay in a relationship and you can speak the person's first language and their second language, and you don't mind, you like their first and second language, you don't have any you won't have any regret. You won't start having resentment by speaking. Like, if I had to speak German for the rest of my life, I will stop talking as much because I don't like the language. If I had to speak Russian, I don't like the language. You know, I'm not going to enjoy it. If I had to speak Arabic, I'm not going to enjoy it. These are not languages that I like. But if I would have to speak Spanish or French or Italian or Yoruba or some other... Now, I wouldn't like speaking Chinese or Mandarin or Japanese. But I could speak, but speaking Hindi, those languages, I like the way they flow. So I can do those languages. And you have to be in a position where you don't mind speaking the language that the person speaks. When you do that, then you can talk to the person. You can communicate with the person. And you don't see it from, you see it from their perspective so that you can love them in the way that they receive the love. That's what matters, how they receive the love in their first two primaries. You got to get those first two primaries. If you can't, it's not going to work. You have to be willing to give that time and attention. That's what it's all about. It's the time and attention that you give to their love languages, and you keep doing it. You keep doing it over and over again. You never stop. There is no ending. It's like a car. A car can't drive forever. It needs to be refueled. And don't be like me and a lot of other guys in the car. We like to get it down to empty, then fill it up. But when it comes to relationship, and this is one of the things that the people that I met did not understand, and they thought it was interesting of me. I study relationship. I've always been interested in studying relationship. I have put so much energy into trying to understand relationship. To me, the relationship is vital. You know why? Because my kids are going to grow up and they're leaving me. They're already grown up and they left me. A job. I've changed job a bunch of times, different careers. Jobs leave you, careers leave you. But you put so much energy into a job, so much energy into your kids, so much energy into your friends, so much energy into your parents and your brothers and sisters. But you don't put that energy into the person that you say you want to be with for the rest of your life. The things that you gave way more energy to the things that are temporary instead of giving way more energy to what you want to be permanent. The two things that you want permanent in your life is you and your mate. But yet, you give way more energy to your job, way more energy to your kids, your family, and everybody else, instead of giving that energy to the person that you say you want to be with for the rest of your life, which is you and your mate. So make a decision and make it a good one. And remember to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. And watch these other videos.